All right, going through our practice quiz. So we're going to put an X in each of the boxes where this belongs. So 1.607 is a decimal, so we know that things with decimals are definitely real, and they're not going to be irrational. It's going to be a rational number because it has an end, so it's an ending decimal. We know that it can't be an integer, a whole number, or a natural number because it is a decimal. That's why those other ones don't fit. Okay, the next one is 18 divided by 6, which is 3. We know that that is a real number. It is also a rational number. It is a nice number, so it's an integer. It's a whole number because it's greater than 0, and it's a natural number because it's greater than 1. So it's going to fit all of those things. The square root of 25 is a nice number. It's 5. 5 is a real number. It is also a rational number. It is an integer because it's one of our counting numbers, a whole number because it's greater than 0, and a natural number because it's greater than 1. 0 is a real number. It's a rational number. It's an integer because it's a counting number, and it's a whole number. It is not a natural number. It cannot be natural because natural is 1 or greater. This is 0 or greater. This is all counting numbers. This one is fractions and decimals that are nice. Irrational is crazy numbers. Real is everything that we talk about. The square root of negative 78, putting that in my calculator, that's going to be a number that goes on and on and on and on forever. Hang on, doing it. 8.831760866 with no pattern whatsoever, a crazy number. So crazy numbers are still real, just like crazy people are still real. Irrational because it's crazy and goes on and on forever. Okay, so now we're going down to placing the letter in the location where they belong. So the square root of 10. The square root of 10 is kind of a messy number. It goes on and on forever. So it's going to be A. So this has no end. B is the square root of 49. We know the square root of 49 is 7. 7 is a nice number, so it's going to go in the rationals, and then we decide which of these does it go into. So it is greater than 1, so it's going to go in the natural numbers. Remember, this is greater than 0. This is numbers with no fractions, and this will include fractions and decimals. Okay, B is negative 2 over 8, which reduces down to negative 1/4. If you were to put that as a decimal, you'd get negative 0.25, which ends. So that means that it's going to be rational. And it's not going to be anything else because it's not a number. It's not one that we would count with. We don't count by quarters unless we're counting money. Negative 3 is a nice number. So it's going to go in the rational category, and then we decide if it's going to jump to integers, which it is going to be an integer because it goes from negative infinity to positive infinity, and it's not going to be a whole number or a natural number because those are for 0 and 1. Pi was one of our prime examples of a number that goes on and on forever, so that's going to go in the irrational. 43.2, that ends, but it is a decimal, so it has to go in the rational. It can't be an integer because it's not a counting number. 1 is a nice number, so that goes into the rationals, and then we decide what category it goes into. Because it's 1 or greater, it's going to go down here into our natural numbers. Letter H, the square root of 35. Square root of 35 is a number that has no end to it and no pattern. If it has no end and no pattern, it's going to go into irrational. Remember how we talked about square roots and how this is really the square root of 4 over the square root of 16? And this is really going to become 2 over 4. Well, 2 over 4 is 1/2. So 1/2 is a decimal or a nice fraction that ends, but it can't be any of the other ones below that because integers, whole numbers, and natural numbers can't be decimals and fractions. This sign above it says it's going to repeat. And we know that rational people repeat what they say until people understand them. They repeat their pattern of behavior. Rational numbers also repeat. Then 1/5 is also a fraction that's going to end up being 0.2 that has an endpoint to it, so that's also going to be categorized here in the rational numbers. So the only thing that we didn't have was the whole number of 0, so there's nothing in that blank. All right, number 7. Which does not represent an integer. Okay, so integers we're going to write this right below it, are no fractions, no decimals. And you could think of those as counting numbers. They are our counting numbers. Okay, so when we look at this, 10 is a counting number, so it's out. Negative 12 over 2 is negative 6, so it's out. The square root of 8 is not nice. It's going to give us a weird wonky decimal, so that's what we want. And then 10 over 5 is 2, so that one's also out. Which is an irrational number? Irrational numbers go on forever and have no pattern. So ones that are going to have no pattern. So let's look at some of the easier ones we can get rid of. We can get rid of D because that's a whole number. It's a counting number. This says it repeats, so repeating goes out of here. 5/8 is a decimal that ends. It's 0.625, so it's out. So this has to be A, the square root of 21. Okay, so now on to the next page, which I don't seem to have. So let me pause this, or I might have to make two videos.